Howdy y'all, and welcome. Hope everybody's doing well out there so far. It's looking like we could have an active weather pattern shaping up for the next few days, as we have an enhanced risk issue today, tomorrow, and even on Thursday. But it doesn't stop there. We even have a day 4 15% chance of severe weather issued from Kentucky all the way up here into New York. So let's go ahead and get into what kind of threats we could expect, and then get into the timing, and then we'll get into what we could expect for the next couple of weeks as we inch closer to summertime, as we could continue this active weather pattern. So here on Tuesday, looks like all hazards are going to be possible, including a significant tornado threat, a significant wind threat, and even a large hail threat, which is the lesser threat of the three, but still a pretty good chance of seeing some significant hail today. Now, on good old hump day, we got another enhanced risk issued, which includes a pretty good chance of seeing a tornado, pretty good chance of seeing high winds, and a pretty good chance of large hail. Now, on Thursday, we do not know what the main threats will be, but I'm sure all hazards will be possible, all significant hazards at that. But of course, I will be letting y'all know on X, Facebook, and even here on YouTube community posts on the timing and the exact threats of what you could expect. Now, as far as day 4 goes, of course, we do not know the timing or the hazards of what we could expect, but most likely all significant hazards will be possible. And again, I will be posting on X and Facebook of what you could expect on Thursday and even on Friday. But here in this video, I will still show you a rough estimate of what you could possibly expect. So to get into what we could expect for the next few days, we're going to take a look at the NAM 3 kilometer. We could take a look at the HRRR model. This is the highest resolution short range model we can go with, but it only goes out for the next couple of days, and we want to take a look out into Thursday. So we're going to have to take a look at the NAM 3 kilometer for this. Now keep in mind, date and times right here if you ever want to keep track, by the way. And as we push this forward, see, not much is going to be happening during the early afternoon into early evening, at least until we head into the overnight hours tonight. We can see the tornado threat's going to start to pick up during the, I would say, 7 o'clock through 10 o'clock time frame before it starts turning into a big old bow echo. And then we could be possibly dealing with a derecho. Now, what is a derecho? Well, it's straight line damaging winds over a wide area. Let's say this big bow echo continues onwards into Minnesota, then it would be classified as a derecho. I'll put the definition of it right here to show y'all, but we could potentially be coming in on a possible derecho tonight. We did come in on one last night, I think. I was watching Ryan Hall last night, and he was showing that a whole bunch of those traffic cameras on the interstates was starting to get damaged and stuff, so we could possibly have that tonight as well before it starts turning into a big old flash flooding event, and then the threat starts diminishing from there as we head into Wednesday morning. Now, what about Wednesday morning? Well, we could see that really not much is going to be happening really until we head into the early afternoon. I'm thinking we're going to have a couple rounds of severe weather. I think the first round is going to be our big wind event before our big tornado maker is going to be occurring during the late evening into overnight hours. And then, of course, another big wind event is going to be occurring here in Illinois. Now, what about Thursday? Well, Thursday, furthest this goes out is through 8 o'clock, but it's looking like this could be another two-rounder event. First round could bring some tornadoes with it, and then the big wind event could occur during the overnight hours. Now, I'm thinking Thursday could be the big stay out of the three. And why do I say that? Well, we take a look at the significant tornado parameters, and don't worry, I didn't forget to take a look at the wind gusts and tornado parameters. I just wanted to show you all the timing first before we get into the parameters. But we see the tornado parameters here on Thursday evening. We can see that they're going to be maxed out on Thursday evening, and there is going to be some storms interacting with that favorable environment. Now, keep in mind, when referring back to the significant tornado parameters, if there's nothing interacting with this favorable environment, then nothing's going to occur, obviously, but there is definitely going to be some storms interacting with that favorable environment. And what are the tornado parameters? Well, it basically puts all of the ingredients into one model run, then spits out a total from 1 to 10 of where the greatest favorability is going to be at. Don't mean a tornado is going to happen within that whole area again. It just means that the ingredients are favorable for tornadic activity. Now, what are the ingredients? Well, think wind shear and moisture, essentially, is how tornadoes form, of course. So looks like Thursday is going to be a very big day for severe weather, and I have seen some mentions of an possible derecho on Thursday as well, so I use that word lightly. Derechos only occur, I think, every once or twice every couple years. I could be wrong on that, but there definitely could be a derecho here on Tuesday and on possibly on Thursday as well. Of course, please take that with a grain of salt, of course, can and will change. Now, of course, what are the winds going to look like here on Thursday? Well, we can see that Thursday afternoon could come in on possibly 50 to 60 or even higher wind gusts possible as a line starts to roll through. So definitely going to be a pretty big wind event as well as tornado event. I think the large hail threat is going to be minimal, but there. But of course, like I said earlier on, I'll be letting you all know on X and Facebook, and I might even have a video up. I don't know yet, but I'll be keeping you posted regardless on that. Now, what about on Tuesday and on Wednesday? Well, head back into the north central part of the country here on Tuesday. We can see as this line starts to move through, could have upwards of 50 to 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts during the overnight hours on Tuesday. So what am I saying on Tuesday? Basically, I'm saying that during the early to possibly late afternoon hours could be the tornado threat here in northern North Dakota, and then during the late evening hours into overnight hours is when our big wind threat could take place. So basically, tornado event happens first, and then our big wind maker occurs after that. Now, keep in mind, straight line damaging winds can be just as dangerous as tornadoes. So again, on Tuesday, make sure you know where to seek shelter at. Basement closet, clear away from windows, and have a way to receive alerts. And there is a high likelihood of power outages as well, so make sure you are aware of that and prepare for that as well. Now, I know I'm jumping around a lot, but here on Wednesday, I'm not expecting Wednesday to be a big day by no means, but you never know. Can and will always change. I'm thinking there's going to be 2 rounds of severe weather. The first round, I think, is going to be our big wind maker. As shown here, we can see the first round moves through 50 to 60 mile an hour winds. And then the second round, even higher, of course. We can see over here in eastern Illinois, close to 60 mile an hour wind gusts. So basically, going to be a big wind maker. Now, the tornado threat, we can see the tornado parameters are maxed out here in southern Iowa into northern Missouri. And this is a prime example of why I always say that the tornado parameters can be maxed out, and if there's no storms interacting with that favorable environment, obviously nothing's going to happen. You can see it's well ahead of that tornado juice out here. But then as we head further into the evening, into the overnight hours, the parameters start maxing out, and there are going to be some storms interacting with that favorable environment. So the second round could be the tornado maker and wind maker, while the first round is going to be mainly our wind maker from there. So I'm saying Wednesday, I don't think it's going to be as significant, but you never know. Then of course here on Thursday, I think it's going to be a very significant day. The first round is going to be our tornado maker, and then the second round during the overnight hours is going to be our big wind event. And as I zoom in here to give y'all a better close-up of this event, take a look at the tornado parameters again for this. We can see the parameters are maxed out like I showed y'all earlier. Definitely going to be some storms interacting with that favorable environment, but I did not show y'all the winds of what we could expect either, so go ahead and get into that. You can see during the overnight hours, as far as it goes, is to 8 o'clock in the evening Eastern time. So the second round during the overnight hours is going to be our big wind maker. So definitely, again, Tuesday, Thursday is going to be a big wind maker, while Wednesday I think is going to be primarily a tornado event. So irregardless, next few days, make sure you're hyper weather aware and know where to go when that tornado gets issued, regardless if it's a radar indicated tornado or even a confirmed tornado. Make sure you seek shelter accordingly. And with damaging winds taking place for the next few days as well, most likely straight line damaging winds is going to take place on Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure you have what you need just in case that power goes out. Most likely it's going to definitely go out on Tuesday and Thursday, so please get what you need for that. And if I didn't make the next few days clear enough, here is what the SPC has to say here on Tuesday. Basically, all hazards possible in the northern plains. Wind gusts of 60 to 80 mile an hour possible. Hail in excess of 2 inches, and potential strong tornadoes are forecast to occur from the central to northern plains. Timing is during the late afternoon, and uncertainty the threat for tornadoes will exist, particularly in the central to northern plains. The magnitude of this threat will depend on whether a discrete supercell mode can be maintained into the evening. So I'm thinking early afternoon into late evening here in northern North Dakota. If I had to chase this event, that's where I would be at. Now Wednesday, I don't think it's going to be a big day by no means, but you never know. Y'all should always keep your guard up just in case. But overview of this, according to the SBC, scattered to numerous severe thunderstorms capable of large hail in excess of 2 inches in diameter, a few strong tornadoes, and damaging winds with gusts in excess of 70 miles per hour appear likely across portions of the upper Midwest. Early morning storms are possible within the region. The main severe risk will likely begin by mid to late afternoon and continue into the evening, so there could be 2 rounds on Wednesday, like I said earlier, so you should always stay weather aware, of course. And on Thursday, we don't know what the main hazards will be, but most likely damaging straight line winds and tornadoes will be possible. But if we take a look at the wording here, scattered to numerous severe storms capable of potentially strong tornadoes, large hail, and destructive winds appear likely from portions of the lower Missouri and mid-Mississippi valleys into the upper Great Lakes. Some storms may be ongoing during the early morning. These storms will intensify as they move northeast. Additional storms are also possible during the afternoon. The afternoon storms would likely be more intense, so definitely next few days, please stay hyper weather aware. And I did not forget to leave y'all out here in Kentucky into New York. It's just anything over a few days out is pretty much impossible to forecast, but we'll still take a look at it anyways. But real quick here, but to take a look at the rough timing for Friday, we're going to take a look at one of the lowest resolution models we can go with, which is the NAM 12 kilometer. I'm not a big fan of this model run by no means, and we can see why. It doesn't really show us very much. But Friday, expecting a big day for severe weather from Kentucky into New York. Keep y'all posted, of course, like I always do on X and Facebook. Take a look at the Cape values to make it even more clear of why they issued the 15% chance for severe weather. You can see Cape values are at roughly 4,000 joules per kilogram, so almost maxed out here in eastern Pennsylvania. So definitely Friday's gonna be a big day. I can't give you a rough estimate of the timing or threats, but I'm expecting a big day regardless. So again, now that I beat the dead horse on severe weather for the next few days, let's go ahead and get into what we could expect for the next couple weeks as summer is coming up. So that's exciting, but the only bad news is once we head past the first day of summer, we start losing daylight, and then it starts getting cold out, which is very unfortunate. But to take a look at what we could expect for the next couple of weeks, well, take a look at the 8 to 14 day U.S. hazards outlook, and they're stating that we could come in on some heavy precipitation here in the middle of the month here down south, and extreme heat up here in the northwest, which, as y'all saw in the thumbnail, it could come in on some dangerous weather, and I wasn't kidding about that. It's not clickbait. Extreme heat out west, flooding down south, and severe weather here in the central part of the country. So typical June weather. But first, gonna get into the GFS and take a look at the next couple of weeks as far as the precipitation goes anyways. Now, we already know about the severe weather threat for the next 4 days. I've already beat the dead horse on that. It's gonna be very soggy as well here out east for those next 4 days. But once we head into the weekends, and weekend plans could get ruined. Unfortunately, there could be some severe weather here in the central part of the country. The SPC hasn't issued anything because they're not too confident about this, but there could be some flooding and some potential severe weather here in the central part of the country on Saturday. So if you have any weekend plans here in the central part of the country, into the southeast and northwest, could get ruined, unfortunately. And it's just looking to remain soggy as we head into the beginning parts of next week. Could be coming into another active weather pattern again next week here in the central and south central part of the country into the mid-Mississippi Valley. We're going to be starting to dry out west, though, drying out up here in the northeast, but here in the central and southeast part of the country, coming in on a very, very soggy weather pattern. And it's looking like we're going to remain in this pattern, and that's sort of why they issued the risk that they did here in the deep south from the 16th to 17th, because we are definitely going to be coming in on some heavy rainfall in that area, but drying out here out west. So pretty much next couple weeks, it's going to be very soggy out east and dry out west, and could come into an active weather pattern here in the central part of the country into the upper Midwest and mid-Mississippi Valley, and even some heavy rainfall here down south. So essentially, there's going to be coming into an active weather pattern here in the central and eastern part of the country where we're going to be drying out out west. So that's pretty much what's in store for the next couple of weeks. And according to the Climate Prediction Center, pretty spot on there. We can see that the central and eastern part of the country is going to be pretty soggy, especially down here in the deep south, hence why they issued the risk that they did for heavy precipitation. Out west, y'all are going to be pretty dry out there. Up here in the upper Midwest, could be near normal, but could be leaning above average out there. Head into the next couple of weeks. Looks like more of the western part of the country heading into above average precipitation, but still leaning below average here in the west coast, but above average for the rest of us. So we could be heading into a very active and soggy weather pattern nowadays, with heavy rainfall down here in the deep south, severe weather here in the central part of the country into the mid-Mississippi Valley and upper Midwest. So typical June weather pattern where we're just going to be dealing with severe weather and flooding out east, while we're going to be drying out and feeling like a pressure cooker out west. And as we take a look at the risk of heavy precipitation, really don't need the Climate Prediction Center to tell us it's going to be raining its butt off, because it is. You can see moderate risk issue down here in the deep south. And most likely the reason why we're coming in on heavy precipitation here in the eastern part of the country is, and hopefully y'all can see this, but is because of the tropical activity down here in Central America into Mexico. We can see we have post-tropical cyclone Boris and tropical storm Christina, which these could be the reason why we could be coming in on a very soggy weather pattern. Now, I will create a different scene to show you all this better in future videos, but we take a look at this currently. We're definitely coming in on some heavy rainfall and tropical storm conditions down here in portions of Central America through Thursday. And none of this will affect Hawaii by no means. And we take a look at the Atlantic as well. Nothing going on out there. Take a look back at the Eastern Pacific before I show y'all how much precipitation we could be coming in on. Show y'all the simulated infrared here. We can see Boris and that other tropical storm down here bringing a lot of heavy precipitation down there. And this is probably one of the reasons why we're coming in on so much moisture here in the central and eastern part of the country, is because of this tropical storm activity down there. So we're definitely going to be coming in on a very soggy ride here for the next couple of weeks here in the central and eastern part of the country, with a very active weather pattern going on as well. Now, I know most of the southern states need the rain, as it has been very dry out there, so that's some good news, especially Florida. Y'all have been pretty dry as well. But we take a look out there, really not much activity going on, honestly. I mean, we could have some activity here in the Central Pacific, but really too far out to tell, really. So we take a look out by Hawaii, we can see that we're not really expecting much out there at all to affect y'all. So y'all are going to be fun in the sun out there, although we're expecting an above average hurricane season for you guys. Now, the Atlantic Basin, you can see that not much going to be occurring out there. We can see the soggy weather pattern we're going to be coming in on here in the central and eastern part of the country. So typical early June weather pattern out there, but nothing going on as far as tropical activity out there goes, except for the two tropical storms out by Central America into Mexico. Now, before we get into the sea surface temperatures, this is how much precipitation we are going to be coming in on here in the central and eastern part of the country. We're going to come in on a ton of rainfall here for the next couple of weeks. Take a look at the central part of the country here, close to 2 to 4 inches of heavy rainfall. So definitely going to be coming in on a lot of rainfall here out east, and even down here by Florida, you are coming in on some well needed rainfall. So that's some good news. Out west though, unfortunately, not much rainfall in the southwest, but still some rainfall here in the northwest and Rockies. So pretty dry out there, but pretty typical for this time of year though. And I know I'm jumping around a lot, but take a look at the sea surface temperatures currently. We can see pretty warm out there, which is why we have those two tropical storms that have formed and are bringing a lot of precipitation here to Central America and parts of Mexico. Take a look at the temperature anomalies out there. Pretty warm, pretty cool up here by the Baja though, but expected to start to gradually warm up as we head further into the meat and potatoes of hurricane season, which again, we are expecting an above average season out here in the Pacific and a below average hurricane season here in the Atlantic. The reason why is because we are coming in on a lot of wind shear here in the Atlantic, which typically hurricanes hate wind shear during El Nino seasons. So not much occurring out there, and we take a look at the actual temperatures currently. Pretty warm out here in the Gulf and relatively warm here in the main development region, but not much to cause any activity out there. So let's go ahead and get into the temperatures. And y'all might be surprised by this as well. I know on the thumbnail I said we could come in on extreme heat out west, which is shown here. We have a slight risk of extreme heat going on out here in the west coast, but I'm thinking we could potentially come in on a cool down, and we'll show you why here in a minute. And as we take a look at the next couple of weeks, we can see here the next few days definitely going to be a scorcher out there for much of us, unless you live up here in northern Montana into Idaho. But we're going to be continuing this major heat wave, at least as we head into Friday. We can see that cold front front starting to move through, as well as that severe weather starts pushing further and further eastward. And we can see that we have a battle of the seasons going on here, the hot and cold. That's why we have that severe weather going on, of course. But watch as we head into next week. We're going to be slightly cooling down a little bit, sort of unseasonably cool at that. While the west coast into the southwest is going to be a scorcher, the eastern part of the country is going to be cooling down a little bit. It's kind of unseasonably cool at that. And we can see that hot air starting to make a return though as we head past the first day of summer, which I think is on June 21st, by the way. We take a look at the temperature anomalies, which shows us whether or not we're going to be above or below average. Going to be pretty much above average here out east and below average out west. That's going to flip as we head into the weekend, as it's looking like we're going to be heading from above average temperatures to well below average here as we head into this weekend. And we're going to remain a little bit below average for a while, well below average as we head into the 14th. And we're going to remain in this pattern for quite some time, actually. We're going to be cool out east, hot out west. And then I would expect that to change again once we head past the first day of summer and into the end of the month. Now, as we take a look at the Climate Prediction Center, we can see that we're going to be below average here as we head into the 14th through 18th time frame for much of us, unless you live out here out west, which is why I said y'all are coming in on extreme heat out there. Still could be a little bit above average here in the southeast, so we're going to be unseasonably cool here as we inch closer to the first day of summer. Next 8 to 14 days, much of the same story really, but I think we're going to be gradually warming up again as we head into the end of the month. And I did say this in my June outlook video, by the way, that we could be a little bit below average for the month of June as far as temperatures go anyway, and it looks like that's verifying. So unfortunately, looks like cool air is going to be heading back our way again after coming in on such a hot start to the month. So to sum this all up, basically I think we're going to be heading into a very soggy weather pattern here in the central and eastern part of the country, and a very active one at that, as I think that once we move past this weekend, we could be quiet for a little bit. But I think activity could be picking back up again as we head into the end of the month. Now, why am I thinking that? Well, I think we're going to be in a volatile temperature pattern as we're going to be going from really hot air this week. And then once that severe weather starts moving through as we head into the weekend, I think it's going to cool down again. But I think as we head past the first day of summer, it's going to warm up again. And then that's when our active weather pattern could be shaping up once more. But next couple of weeks, I think we're going to be soggy and a little bit unseasonably cool for this time of year. As far as tropical activity goes, again, no activity in the Atlantic, but activity in the Pacific as we have post-tropical cyclone Boris and tropical storm Christina, which are bringing a lot of heavy precipitation to Central America and Mexico, and this could result in our very soggy weather pattern here in the central and eastern part of the country. So essentially, an active weather pattern could be in store for much of us for the next couple of weeks, unless you live out west. But out west, y'all got your own problems as we're going to be dealing with some extreme heat for the next couple of weeks. So again, before I let y'all go, if you're within the enhanced risk for the next few days, make sure you're hyper weather aware, know what to do when that tornado warning goes off. And keep in mind, straight line damaging winds can be just as dangerous as a tornado, so keep that in mind. So again, appreciate all of y'all for watching. Make sure, if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that like and share button so more folks are informed about the weather, and leave me some feedback in the comment section down below. Any feedback is definitely appreciated as long as it's constructive feedback. It helps provide you, the viewer, better, more informative content in the future. And if you haven't done so already, please make sure you hit that subscribe button, because here at Williams Weather, we try to make weather forecasting fun and informative. And also make sure you go follow me on X and Facebook. I post some really cool content over there. It is AI content most of the time, but I make sure that I do revise it and make sure it's good enough for you guys to enjoy. And I've noticed y'all have been enjoying it, so definitely much appreciated on this end. So again, like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate all y'all for watching. Brace for this dangerous weather pattern coming up. And until next time, never stop forecasting.